Peace. While people try to file in, get into some of this business. First business, I'm the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. This is a video for the full moon in Taurus, which takes place December 12th, 2019. We're going to look at the esoteric and sidereal aspects. Very educational, very informational. So please have your pen and papers ready. And if you don't want to have your pen and papers, I do provide a link sheet. So the same thing that I'm looking at right here or right here is actually in the description. So you can click on it, download it, print it, look at the links provided. So we can kind of share in this kind of thought process. So it's just not like me just spouting out a whole bunch of random information, but it's actually consensual information that we can all have a observance of. The esoteric side of astrology is based upon the personal, individual understanding of the workings of the body, and understanding the internals. We dictate and are able to change this energy externally. Understanding the power of being compelled, understanding the power of even moving. So I'm moving my hands. Before I even attempt to move my hands, something within me has to direct these hands to begin to move. And so the same way I can move my hands, the same way I can move my life. The more control that I get over my internal biological functions, by doing practical, basic, simple stuff, we could really take this to a whole nother level. But the business side of this, we have a couple books in the market right now available for purchase. Both are significant. We have a daytime book, How to Read Natal Charts Easily and Effectively. That can be purchased on Amazon. The links are in the description. We also have a nighttime book, a book that's specifically dedicated to the moon, How to Manipulate the Matrix. Powerful book, a lot of content supporting it. I'm sure there'll be some links in the description, some info cards. Just be sure to check out my channel. Be sure to, if you are subscribed to my channel, hit that notifications bell to get updated on all of the information, because the information that I'm putting out, these conversations that I'm putting out, is not about me personally. It's about the spiritual channels and the spiritual information. This particular video is quite spooky, based upon the connections that it made with my previous video. It would have seemed that I studied the astrology before I put out that video, but it was quite the reverse. But it's all in full and perfect alignment. And so I'm just trying to educate and really bring people into perfect alignment. And it's in esoteric studies, practical, simple things that we could begin to do to really get some amazing results. And you don't got to spend a lot of money. You don't got to really spend anything. You don't have to go anywhere. Just stick with me as we kind of explain this in the most basic form. The last business that I do want to get to, however, is if you on this live, if you rock with me, you're trying to build with me, we don't necessarily know the future of YouTube as it stands, be sure to click that email. Be sure to join this set and get updated on a lot of different things that we got coming. We got a new website coming, got a couple new websites coming actually, and just doing a whole bunch of different things that is specifically designed to help you based upon a need, right? And based upon being that bridge between information and practical studies. There's so much power that can be happening with your pen, with your mind, and writing things down and utilizing your pineal gland and all of these things. And maybe you're focused on money, love, traveling, etc., and so forth. That's perfectly well and fine. But do you have the internal guidance of what you actually want, and then programming yourself at night and then realizing it throughout the day? or you just hopefully just wishing and praying and hope that things happen in your favor and hope that you get enough money to move things. That's one level, but then again, there's also multiple different levels. I appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate everybody on the chat. Fill up the chat. Speak your truth. If this is in alignment with you, if it vibrates with you, speak on it. Share the videos. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Notify yourself when we do drop these videos so you can be in tune with this cosmic channel. Because that's just simply what it is. So we're going to get into this full moon now. The business is taken care of. We're going to look at the full moon and the placements of it. You just give me a second to get this thing set up. All right. So if we look at the moon, you see this little white gray stuff in the background. That is the Milky Way, right? And the interesting thing about the Milky Way, it's not aligned to the ecliptic path, because if you see Jupiter is going away from the Milky Way, okay? So the ecliptic path is something all the way different between where the Milky Way is going, because the Milky Way is very large, but that's not what we're here for. We're just traveling along the ecliptic path. There goes Neptune over in Aquarius, Cetus, Mamacita. No time for jokes. We're really serious. We're getting into this astrology ecliptical path in the nether worlds, and then we somehow cross over to the moon. Look how we got there. Cosmic traveling real quick. You ain't gonna get no cosmic traveling on no other astrology website, but they're gonna talk about all of the astrology things, but they're not gonna deal with the source and what it actually means and where it's at. It's quite interesting, but I digress. The moon is in Taurus like a mug, right? It's in Taurus, but it's not as thick as the sun, but if I could kind of zoom out, you'll see that ecliptic pathway is, where the moon is at. So what I just shown is that the moon and the sun are aligned to the Milky Way. And this is quite interesting because it's not like there are many places where the sun and the moon could align on this Milky Way type ecliptic path. As I shown you, for the most part, the space is dark and void of the cosmic light, and it doesn't make these places invaluable. I'm just saying that the placement of the moon is actually super valuable. And valuable in what way, is what I'm trying to get to in this conversation. Let's see. Wanted to just kind of show the sidereal placements real quick. Nothing major, but just kind of show that the actual sun is in Ophiuchus and the moon is in Taurus. Just kind of show that, right? And but yeah, back to my point. What does this mean to the individual if the moon is conjunct the Milky Way, the sun is conjunct the Milky Way, and these two energies are opposing? That means something very important for you personally, in your biological functions. And I guess we'll just have to explain it astrologically, and then we'll explain it in the nakshatra, and then we'll also explain it within the card of the day, okay? So let's just deal with it. We are the full moon. The moon is in Scorpio or Ophiuchus. The sun is in Scorpio or Ophiuchus, and the moon is in Taurus. Okay, Kyrie, get it together. Get your head in the game. Okay, my head's in the game. Peace to everybody. Peace to all the love, all the chats. I really appreciate that. And then we got I want my page to be chatted up like everybody else's YouTube page. You feel me? Chat it up. Talk about it. Because whether you hear on the live, you could listen to this again, and most of the people who listen to it don't really listen to it live. So while you're here, you could always observe it, you could always listen, you could always reference the link sheet. But while you're here, talk it up, make this an event. You know what I'm saying? And it's you personally that makes it event, and your input which makes it event. Me personally, I'm gonna be inputting as well. So we're just all inputting for everybody else to watch this in a future date. So Moon opposed the Sun, interesting, full moon, but then we have a focal point which lies in a T-square to Neptune. So if the Moon and the Sun are your base, then there is something that pulls your base out to create a pyramid or to create a shape. And this process, if we're ever in a two-dimensional space where we're just going from here to there, point A to point B, and now I'm like, okay, instead of going from point A to point B, I need you to create a new route, that you have to kind of go, like you got to drop your sister off at a different school, and now you got to go somewhere else. That's a challenge, but if you dropping your sister off at her own school, you might have that time to really bond with your sister. You might have that time to really get closer. And so in a real sense, we have the moon in our earth sign, and our primary earth sign, and our fixed earth sign, and then we have the sun in our most celestial, godlike understanding, if I'm gonna just be frank. And then what is forcing this to come to light is the actual Neptune placement. So a T-square is when it's dynamic. So dynamic doesn't always mean easy, but it always means something that is worthwhile, something that you might not be easy to manifest. It might not be simple to manifest. It might be the hardest thing that you ever have to do. But however, you still put the effort in to push forward. So a T-square is like a pressure cooker of energy, edginess, and stress. It symbolizes facets of ourselves which are at odds with another. As the central player, the focal point of this figuration is the dynamic point of release and resolution. So even though it's troubling, even though it's difficult, there is a resolution for it. And instead of seesawing, instead of going from point A to point B, create a C, create a deeper purpose, or hope, as opposed to optimism. Hope is much deeper than optimism, because optimism is psychological, is mental, it's in your mind. Like, I just hope that my baby daddy don't cheat. Hope is like, you really hope that he don't cheat on you because you understand the wrath that's going to happen if he do cheat. So it's a little different because you know how you're going to handle it. You know that everything isn't perfect. And so you need to require strength or something that is beyond yourself. But when you reference beyond yourself, you're not always referencing quote unquote God or something celestial outside of you. Something beyond yourself could be the production of a hormone. As we continue to build, continue to talk about this. So Scorpio is at the 25-degree mark of Scorpio in the Vedic astrology. So that actual Sabian symbol says, let's see what it says. A doctor. Oh, y'all can't see that. Y'all some screen look. Probably zoom it in. And then I'm gonna give y'all all the screen love y'all deserve today. Okay. That's not go. We want to go. Where are we at? We are talking about Scorpio at 25 degrees. So let's go get to Scorpio. There we go. Okay. It took us a minute, but we got here. All right. But since we're here, let's talk about it. Scorpio at the 25-degree mark, a doctor experimenting on himself with new drugs. So quite simply, new drugs don't have to be like the street drugs. When you reference DMT, when you reference THC, cannabinoids, when you reference melatonin, when you reference all of the things that you could buy at the health food store, whole food store, from your neighborhood drug dealer, so forth and so on, from the doctor, from the pharmacy, all of these drugs our body produces within ourselves. And so that's why dependency can actually inhibit those actual synapses. And that's why drug usage is always kind of frowned upon in reference of esoteric and meditation, because your meditation could produce all of the DMT, all of the melatonin that you need to really have a psychic trip. You know, if you blindfold yourself, if you plug your ears, if you immerse yourself in silence for long enough, in darkness for long enough, you could begin to produce what you could buy at the store. Now, if you want a cheap and easy route, of course, you know, buy the drugs. But if you want to do this naturally and holistically without blocking any of your receptors, the ayahuasca and all of that, that's cool. That's perfect. That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to knock nobody's hustle. I was an inside joke with myself, and I'm not going to stunt anybody's growth. What I am trying to say is that if you are the scientist, if you are the doctor, the experimentation should first be with meditation. And if you have committed to meditation, have you committed to nature? Because once you commit to these things, what happens biologically is just as good as drugs. But the meditation and the processes and going out to nature, that don't cost nothing. Them parks is free to go to. So within that search for truth of the transitional, emotional Scorpio side, one has to search for the truth of yourself. And I guess we're just beginning this conversation, but we're not going to give it all initially. We're going to build to something. But if what counts as truth, sometimes it is a strange truth. So the reality about you, my friend, the reality about you, my brother, my sister, is that your reality is much different than multimedia, all types of media, you know, social media paint you out to be. And so if you want to figure out who you are, you have to study very deeply. You have to understand yourself very, very deeply. And so this energy opposing the moon, which is in Taurus at the 25-degree mark. Let's see if we get some screen love for you on that. If not, you know, we got it on the first try, so we don't got to do no adjusting. How about that? So this is multiple meanings. The bees returning to their hive. So the bees returning to their hives, it symbolizes two things. It symbolizes sacred geometry, because the path that they weave is like a beautiful flower or whatever, the honeycomb pattern or the Fibonacci sequence. But they do this pattern to hold their nectar. So the nectar is a key, and then the pattern is a key. And understanding your patterns and then understanding your nectar, because we all have nectar. But do you release your nectar? Do you know the patterns? Do you know the symmetry within your dancing, right? You know, the music and the dance. Do you know why you love it so much? Because it releases your nectar. And we all have different things that releases our nectar. You can meet the love of your life like me and, you know, spend time with the love of your life and see her smile and make her happy and, you know, pleasure her in particular ways. That releases my nectar, or it releases her nectar as well. And not to be gross, but to just be simple and to be real about the releasing of hormones and how it betters your life. So if you're aroused in a particular way and you release a particular hormone, is that a bad thing or a good thing? Or is it a physical thing or is it a spiritual thing, right? Like, you know how when you first met him, your nectar released so freely and openly. You got to know him over time, and now your nectar ain't as free flowing as it used to be. Is that physical, or is that spiritual, or is it a combination of both? So when you reference the esoterics of a particular planetary alignment, the connections that are establishing and the releasing of these hormones, it's not like, you know, happenstance is basically what I'm trying to say. There might be a cosmic alignment to why you and Bae are together today. All right. There might be a cosmic alignment as to why you are seeking out this person. So your hormones can release. And it might not even be a sexual relationship. It might be a talent. It might be a career. It might be something that you need to do to release this melatonin. But then understanding why you need to really do it, and then understanding why you could be so attentive to the outside world and never pay no knowledge to the inner workings of your pineal gland and also your parasympathetic system. Okay, but we'll have to continue to deal with it, and we'll have to continue to talk about it. So bees returning to their hive, they're knowing where their home base is. This is essential to a bee, knowing where their hive is. And at the very center of this dispassion and wakeful scrutinizing of, do I have free will, or is there something in me that's kind of controlling me and aligning me to something? And my struggles and my path and my struggles and my hurts and my dispositions are a result of karma and me moving off of that path. Because once we reference the galactic center, the late entries of Scorpio moving into Sagittarius, what we're referencing is a path. And each and every individual has a particular personal path that it might not be the same as me. It might not be the same as you, but it's yours and you should do it. And if you don't do it, you deal with the consequences, and that's karma. But understanding another point, because Taurus is at the 25 degree, the moon is at the 25 degree of Taurus, which is aligned to the Milky Way. So the Milky Way is just a smorgasbord of universes, galaxies, planets, so forth and so on, so much so that they just looks like a white Milky Way, but it's really our past lives and where our soul goes and where our souls return. And it is a realization of multiple life forms. And how do we realize that multiple life form? We realize it through the pineal gland. And how do we go to a psychic to get past life regressions? Yes and no. You know what I'm saying? No, because 99% of past life regression people, if you got a past life reading, they lied to you, because that's not for them to know. It's for you to find out, right? It's your melatonin. It's not theirs. And correct me if I'm wrong. If you know somebody, they can confront me. If they got more melatonin that can provide everybody's past life readings that pay them a couple dollars, right, to give them some type of history that's not even real, but since you don't know it, I could basically tell you anything and you could accept it and pull from it. But your real past life regression is within the mind. It's within your dream worlds. It's within the releasing of melatonin. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, because your innermost reality does not have an identity, nor does it look to other people as higher than. That's some egoic shit. That's some, oh, he got a large following, he must be popping type of shit. But that's not the reality of spirituality. The one who seeks within is the more spiritual person than the one that seeks without. By you listening to this video, by default, you more spiritual than me, right? I diminish my spirituality by speaking it. And that's okay with me, because like Taurus, like the bull, you have the sacrificial bull. And the sacrificial bull represents Taurus, but he has to give himself, right? The Taurus rules the throat. So this is like the primordial bull, or the one who gets sacrificed, is the one that speaks up for people who don't really want to speak up for themselves. So that's just another level of it, and that's okay. But it's more or less of who you are and what you're saying and the sense that you're making at this point. If you just talking and you're not making no sense, then you you trying to do it for attention. But if you really feel like you got something to say, then say it. And if one person is listening, then that's what it was for. You know, so when I go live at just this random time and I just start talking, I don't care who watches it. But I hope that whoever watches it understands exactly what I'm trying to say. That you are God, but you need to know the mechanics of your godhood, okay? And it starts with your melatonin. It starts with your pineal gland. It starts with your darkness. It starts with your sense deprivation. Because your 5 senses, if your eyes closed and your ears are open, that means all of the sounds is filtering through and it's blocking your subconscious from really rising to its full potential. Even if you have your eyes closed, it's still light going through, especially if you live in the city and it's street lights outside, right? It's street lights outside. Shit getting all in your eyes, you know? So blindfold, earplugs, you know? This is another level of godhood. You know, you've seen the cornucopia that represents wealth. It represents manifestation. What's the interesting thing about cornucopia? And we can all look at it together so we can all bear witness of what's really happening, okay? Because if we're talking about plenty and we're talking about manifesting, there's one particular thing that we need to discuss. And we ain't talking about Thanksgiving either. There we go. They trying to block her out or whatever. Goddess Fortuna holding cornucopia. So it's not cornucopia, it's the goddess Fortuna, the goddess of fortune. She's holding cornucopia, coin, statue, goddess. What's the interesting thing about her though? In her money situation, it's in abundance, but her eyes is closed, meaning she not even aware of the BS. She not even aware of what's going on externally. She is only aware of her inner workings, and from that's what's working for her, and you can tell because there's money falling at her feet. Okay, so that's just a really simple way to deal with another level of this square to Neptune. A beautiful woman dressed in white. She is wearing a large silver crescent on her head, and the crescent is pointing upward. So if the moon is representing this, but so say for instance 90 degrees is the furthest point from the elliptical alignment. So you have 90 degrees in Aquarius, and then you have 90 degrees in Leo. So that would mean that these particular points are the darkest points. These are the furthest points away from the Milky Way, okay? So in our furthest, in our depths, in our darkest most point, and it might not be like that for you, but I'm telling you, it's a lot of people who find themselves in their darkest, most lowest point, and they don't understand the beauty of it. They don't understand what they're supposed to do in this space. They think because they're in a dark, low place that they need to continue to move upward, but the idea is to start to move inward and really deal with real life inspiration. Real life inspiration is coming deep from within, and you hear that all the time, but how do I do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, or even why do I do that? Or what's happening when I do that? You do that because you are biologically increasing your melatonin, and when you increase your melatonin, you're more positive, you're more relaxed, you're more visionary, you're more creative, you're more imaginative. Your whole body begins to be younger, right? You're able to move and do things like you wasn't normally supposed to be doing. And this could be done by dark meditation. This could be done before bed, complete darkness. But this is how you establish real life inspiration. As opposed, and you can read stuff and you can do stuff and you can go other places and whatever, but that's that's being compelled. And once you're compelled, you're being compelled to your alignment or to your intention. But in the darkness, you create your intention. And from that intention, once you wake up, once you deal with this waking world, it's full of being compelled. It's full of being moved to your own rhythm, moved to your own drum. Okay. Sufficient grace and authentic conviction. You know what I'm saying? Do your studies on melatonin if you haven't. Not the pill, not the drug, but melatonin that your pineal gland secretes. Like, it's so interesting to me. I've been in this conscious community for years and years and years and years. And I've heard third eye, pineal gland, third eye, pineal gland, pineal gland, third eye. Did you know your pineal gland was your third eye? Yeah, pineal gland, third eye, brother. Stay woke, you know. But up until recently, I'm dealing with the biological functions of that particular gland and relating it to my spiritual practice. And I don't feel like nobody's ever done that as much as the inundation of these words and these buzzwords to get you interested in something, and then you back to your normal life. If you want to understand why something helped you, if you want to understand how something helps you, then you will understand the biological functions, and you will understand the things that you can do right now. And that moves us into this trine between Jupiter and Uranus. So Jupiter is right here, Uranus is right there, Uranus in Aries, Jupiter in Sagittarius. So that could be more of a reference to that understanding of the path. So Jupiter, rats with ruby eyes. Rats with ruby eyes, that's what the Sabian symbol stands for. And a canny mentality. So rats, another thing about rats, they like to be in the dark. They like to do their dirt all by their lonely, independent, anarchic, and full of surprises, resilient, tough, strong, enduring, and self-obstructive, and prone to form a trance which attracts astral entities, may lose the path in the mist. So this is very important that, okay, we're here and we're talking about what we're talking about. The thing that I want to convey is that it's not about the guru. It's not about the most spiritual guy that you need to follow. If that's the case, I'm pretty sure that you are the person that you need to follow. And these actual drugs that you're taking, they're somebody else's thoughts and ideas, and they're hijacking the most spiritual part of you. And of course you have a spiritual experience, but after that spiritual experience, what's gonna happen? And maybe you take a drug, right? And it creates the most wonderful experience. You get a better job, and you manifest money, love, etc., and so forth. But if that starts to wane down, do you buy that drug again? Or wouldn't you want to know how that drug works? Because that's the idea of a drug. Any single drug is a mimicking of your normal biological function. It just speeds it up or increases it or gives you more than you're actually able to process at any given time. And the reason why you're not able to process it is because you haven't trained. You haven't been through the mental gauntlet of understanding. And if you were, everything becomes an acid trip. You understand? And I'm not judging or I'm not pointing fingers, because just understand I'm not judging. And if that's your path, that's your path. But if I would have known then what I know now, I would have known that I am a lovable object. But yeah, you can't take this human life seriously. So your human life, right? A lizard dressed in a blue satin and pointed shoes. So imagine how funny that looked to see a lizard dressed in like a pimp suit, basically. And then, you know, trying rats with ruby eyes. So the rats with ruby eyes is symbolizing virtually a psychic ability to follow our inner subtle tracks, to follow our inner subtle path. And the problem with following our inner subtle path is that we following everybody else's damn path. We trying to do what everybody else trying to fucking do. And we trying to figure out our happiness in reflection to other people's response to our happiness. And it don't necessarily work like that. When you internally determine that you are happy, people gonna have a problem with that shit. And if you the type of person that take in other people's opinions on your personal happiness, that's your fault. So you got to understand what's good and what's bad, and who's good and who's bad, and who's going to pull you out of your zone, because none of this shit is real. It's all a fugazi. It's all a big matrix. It's all manipulated. You can look on YouTube. You can look throughout the world. There are particular systems that's in place. There are particular games that's being played, and you know the systems, you know the rules of the game, and you play them. But other than that, you don't take none of this shit seriously, because this game that we think we playing, that it's a money game or a love game or a life game, is really an internal game. It's really on to mastering your biological functions, because this is why they promote so much fear. And this is why, you know, you play these video games, you let your kids play the video games, and of course they not going out and killing people because they playing Call of Duty. But what is it doing to their internals? What is it doing to their DMT processing? What is it doing to their melatonin processing when they always thinking, they internals is thinking that their whole life is a whole goddamn war all day, respawning, you know, that's what they internal dialogue thinks, okay? Regardless of what they do, this is an internal game that, quite frankly, the entertainment society got you beat 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, since they started showing you these goddamn movies, and since they started mass producing CDs and records, they knew what they was doing to your mind, okay? And to get out of that, it's like there's a whole bunch of inundation to women's rights, men's rights, all types of kind of rights that's going on, because people taking themselves too seriously. But when it comes to this spiritual shit, when it comes to these these multiple lifetime shit, it's so much more than what I'm so serious about. So if you a lizard, get dressed in your pimp suit with your blue satin shoes and get busy tonight, because it ain't that serious. So I like to reference Tamiko Fisher, Vedic Astrology, just to kind of, you know, she have different stuff every day. Usually talk about like the winter solstice or the full moons or the new moons, or sometimes she might talk about a low point of debilitation, and like, what the hell is a low point of debilitation? That's when you gotta search Google for a low point of debilitation, you understand? But it ain't cool just to not know because you don't know. It's cool to learn because you don't know, okay? So I have that in the link sheet as well for people to reference and get familiar with Tamiko Fisher, because I utilize her. She helps me, and I don't see why she can't help you. But the reason I'm referencing her presently in talks of this full moon, which happens December 12th, is because of the nakshatra Mrigashiram. I'm gonna just say that nakshatra. That was too much time trying to pronounce that. So the MR nakshatra, okay, because we in the West, we need a Western pronunciation or a Western definition of these nakshatras, because this is just too difficult. Too many consonants. The light and swift traits of today's lunar mansion may bring an inward seeking or external roaming search towards that which offers greater freedom and independence. So I sounded like a third grader reading that, so I'm gonna try that again. The lunar mansion or nakshatra MR will bring an inward seeking or external roaming search towards that which offers greater freedom and independence. Now, I don't think that was any better, but we're gonna move on. So basically, the full moon energy is promoting an inward seeking, or an external roaming, whatever you choose to do. Like, I'm not knocking you. You might need, your spirit might be telling you ayahuasca, and you need to externally roam and search who got the best ayahuasca out here. Or if you're not really pressed about ayahuasca, you're not really pressed about what persons can offer you on the external, then now it's time to deal with it inward seeking, because the moon is at a particular place. And so since the moon is at a particular place, throughout centuries of monitoring this and understanding what this means, we have Vedic astrology. So there's a reason why they're just not gonna say, oh, you should really seek inward during this time. The reason why they're saying that is because it is ruled by Soma. Okay, Soma, the moon god who personifies the immortal nectar. Okay, Mirgasara is the initiator of Martian energy, who is represented in the celestial firmament by a bright star and 3 relative paler stars in the constellation of Orion. So basically, Soma just personifies, right? Meaning, so it just seemed like in the conscious community, the word personify just skip over people's head. It's like, oh, Shroom personifies love. And it's like, personifies, meaning it's a person that represents a human aspect within yourself, brother. So ruled by Soma, the moon god personifies the immortal nectar. So one would have to understand what the immortal nectar is, right? And so the immortal nectar is melatonin. Okay. So you like, Kyrie, you just saying that because you just saying that. The ancient Vedic text, let me give y'all some screen love so y'all can see it, or download the link sheet and you can follow along with me. The ancient Vedic texts indicate the place of soma secretion is the pineal gland, and some theorize that soma may actually be the powerful antioxidant called melatonin. Okay, so when the moon is conjunct the Milky Way, which is at this particular point is ruled by the god Soma, okay, is because something biologically happens within ourselves that might increase our soma production. And it might be some people, right? I'm gonna blow your mind with this shit. It might be some people in the world right now that can't produce no soma no matter how hard they try, right? They can't produce the shit. You know what I'm saying? So they gotta buy pills, they gotta do all this type of shit that you can do naturally. But you trying to be them. You trying to live their life. You trying to get to their level. But you personally got what they need. And you say that they just a friend. But no, baby, you got what I need, okay? Soma. Okay, let's deal with this, because we got to deal with this, because if we don't deal with this, y'all gonna act like we ain't dealt with it, but we did deal with it, and y'all gonna be confused. Well, the mystic, I don't know about, nah, kill all that. You got it all within you, and it's all in the mythology. It's right in your face, but now you got to pay attention because you're here now. Time is the endless repetition of the same long cycle where gods, demons, and heroes repeat their mythological actions. In Hindu mythology, Soma represents the god of the moon. He rides through the sky in a chariot drawn by white horses. Soma was also the name of the elixir of immortality that only the gods can drink. And I'm saying only the gods can drink it, right? Because everybody can't drink soma, right? Everybody don't produce soma. Everybody don't produce melatonin, okay? That's just a fact, okay? So the reason why this conversation ain't just why you and your grandma, mama ain't talking about this for Thanksgiving is because only a certain particular type of person could even understand this or even access this energy. Okay? And so the moon is thought to be the storehouse of the elixir, because in the same breath, we know that the moons control the low tide and the high tide of a whole ocean filled earth. These high tides and low tides is what allow the earth from not being completely submerged with water. Okay? But if it can control the whole ocean, don't you think it can control your small little biological functions? Okay. So when the gods drink soma, it is said that the moon wanes because the gods are drinking away some of its properties. So in the video that I did yesterday, it literally says, so once the moon is high, your soma drops or your melatonin drops. Okay. But when the moon is low, your soma rises and your soma is your melatonin is heightened. But that's why the propaganda is do spells on the full moon, do all this shit on the full moon. And then I'm like, yo, why don't we do spells on the new moon? Crickets. Okay, that's propaganda. That's getting you in a reverse state of mind. Okay, because if you in it, be in it. Don't just be in it because everybody doing something. Okay, and if this resonate with you, do your research. Okay. Some people think the moon is inhabited by a hare, and that is why all hares are viewed as incarnations of Soma. That's why the moon and Easter got the Easter bunny that drop the eggs that your kids can find. Quite simple. So let's deal with the other level of melatonin, because I said that melatonin was released from the pineal gland, which is true, but it's also released in the kidneys and the liver. Okay. And it's called 6-hydroxy melatonin. And this can be found in the urine and in the blood. Okay. So for the males is generally, males, men and women, it's found in the urine, but males specifically because women have menstrual blood that have higher or lower levels of hydroxy melatonin. So this study that I'm showing is that for a majority of women, when their melatonin levels are high, they menstruate on the new moon. And then there are other customs where they drink the soma. Now, I know that's nasty. There's other customs where they drink the urine. I know that's nasty. And I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to just say what other cultures do and what other people do. And maybe you might need to investigate it if it's interesting. If it's disgusting to you, then just keep it moving, keep it pushing. But I'm talking about power stuff. I'm talking about getting into a lunar rhythm and understanding it. Am I telling you to do anything? No. Only thing that I'm telling you to do is do some research. So that is the nakshatra, that is the astrology, and now we're going to talk about the card of the month and be done, or card of the week, or the card of the full moon. So I wanted to show you guys something of how we come up with this card of the moon, so it's just not some random dandom. I think that I should shuffle cards and see what this card should be and have a whole reading over false probability. I mean, that could be a way of reading. I'd read in that fashion, but for a consensus, we will want to refer to the tarot wheel and the deacons, which been so eloquently put together by years and years of study and application and understanding. Let's just not throw it all away. That's just my personal opinion. So within this, we're centering in on Taurus. And if I'm getting nerdy right now and I'm speaking above people, I don't mean to. But Taurus is right here. And so within Taurus is ruled by 3 cards based upon the deacon. And the deacon that we're referencing is the 3rd deacon, so we're referencing the 7 of discs. As far as an energy understanding of this whole area, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, it's all about realizing your potential physical life, manifesting your potential physical life. But this 3rd deacon, where the Prince of Discs is putting your heart into something, from putting your heart into something, now you begin to just let it go. The Knight of Swords, he gives no fucks. So this is the part of manifesting where you give no fucks, and this is the part where you really manifest. And if you're looking for an esoteric reference, just Google lust for result or lust of result. It's a nice page on that actual subject. You'll find it on Google. But this is the point where you release your lust for result. Maybe in the first 2 deacons, like now you're really working towards something, you're really putting your effort towards something, you going towards something, but now you just let it go because it's like so say for instance, you're building something, and like once you build so much, you can't undo what you built, you know what I'm saying? Or else you're gonna have to tear it all down. So you either gonna have to accept it, keep building, see how you can adjust it. But overall, it's understanding this actual deacon. So the 3rd deacon is ruled by Saturn, which is slow moving and restrictive. Taurus, which is a fixed sign, which is pretty stubborn, it's earth, you know what I'm saying? So put slow moving and restrictive together, you have stagnation. Now stagnation isn't the end of the world, it's an understanding of why there is stagnation. So we reference cosmic conflict, okay? So cosmic conflict is one of the themes of the 7 of discs. And so to deal with the greatest cosmic conflict, one would think that the cosmic conflict is talking about this great event with these people, with these places, and all of these demons and doing all of this crazy stuff. But little do you know, they're talking about the human body, okay? So the churning of the ocean of milk, okay? This is everything that we're talking about. This is everything we're talking about based upon a full moon, the sun opposing the moon on the Milky Way, okay? So this is what we're talking about. This is the event we're talking about, and I'm gonna try to prove it the best way I can. The churning of the ocean of milk, one of the central events in the ever-continuing struggle between the divas and the asuras, or demons or gods, where if you look at it, it's just think it's a whole bunch of gods off in the air doing a whole bunch of fight, and then the cosmics or whatever. Go ahead, if you got the pay-per-view, send me a link because I would like to watch that with you. If you don't see that, however, and you wondering where this struggle is taking place, look within you, and then you have your internal understanding, your gods being your external vision or your ego, and your demons or your titans just being your subconscious mind. Okay, so your subconscious mind and your ego is at odds right now. Let me see. I ain't gonna read all this. The gods who have become weakened as a result of a curse by the erasable god. See, this is a time where you gotta, what the hell do erasable mean? Marked by hot temper and easily provoke anger. See how easy it is? Now I know what erasable mean. A lot of people just read over that, including myself, but now I'm taking the time to really learn. So erasable sage Dervasis invited the Asuras to help them recover the elixir of immortality, the Amrita, from the depths of the cosmic ocean. So that's just 6-hydroxy melatonin 6 that's produced in your kidneys and liver, my friend. It is at the depths of your cosmic ocean. It is in your parasympathetic system. It is in your womb. It is in your gut, okay? It secretes out of you through urine and blood, okay? This is how it does a lot for you. You know, you just, if you don't know, it's because you haven't studied on it. And it's a lot that goes on within your body that's really taking care of, like, it's taking care of a lot while you're worried about your baby daddy and your baby mama. It's a lot of internal things going on within you that's working very hard to keep your ignorant ass alive. So, you know, pay some respect to the true gods, your hormones, okay? Mount Madara, a spur of Mount Meru, the world axis was torn out to use a churning stick. So the churning stick is just your spine, okay? And it was steady at the bottom of the ocean by Vishnu in his avatar incarnation as the tortoise Kurma. So the tortoise is just your hips, and the stick being planted in your hips is your spine connected to your hip bone, knee bone connected to your thigh bone. You know the song. The Saurus held the head of the nag, half human, half cobra, Vasuki. So Vasuki is your Kundalini, who was procured for a churning rope, and the gods held his tail. When Vasuki's head vomited forth poison, which is the melatonin that threatened to fall into the ocean and contaminate the Amrita, the god Shiva took it and held it in his throat. The feet turned his throat blue. So that is not melatonin. So the poison would come from the drugs and the things that people take, that try to simulate this actual process. And so the problem with the drugs is that they tend to contaminate the Amrita. They contaminate the natural flow of things. The god Shiva took it and held it in his throat, a feat that turned his throat blue. In churning the ocean, many wonderful treasures that became the prototypes for their earthly and heavenly counterparts were brought up from the depths. The moon, the beautiful and fragrant tree, the elephant, all types of stuff, the cow of plenty, the goddess of wine, there's all of these good stuffs. Lakshmi, got a wife, medicine, all of these healing things, because they got the supreme treasure, Amrita or melatonin. When the Amrita appeared, the gods and Asuras fought over its possession. Though they had originally agreed to share it equally, after many adventures, it was finally consumed by the gods, who were there, thus restored in strength. So our ego then feels validated to do all of the fuck shit that it does, even though the particular demons or the titans or the subconscious mind does most of the effort. But it was supposed to be an even thing. But since it's not even, we're only inundated what's happening on the external. We know not of this internal process. It's only what you doing, what you got. I want what you got, that's all that there is nowadays. And the internal process and trying to learn things and get this thing down and get this thing right, it's hard to find. But my reality is that people just generally don't know, because they're not connecting these dots, and they're not ready to learn. And so within that, you have to know how to create this positive vibration. And so the idea is to put in the effort before you get results. Okay. You got to really create the positive inertia. You got to allow yourself to be compelled by your intentions. If your intentions don't compel you every day to do things, then your intentions aren't strong enough, quite simply. Because if your intentions are strong enough, you'll know exactly what you need to do. And if you don't know what you need to do, if in that moment you would be compelled to do something. But we have to deal with an actual understanding. We can fear new information, or we can love the new information that we're learning and learn to analyze it, apply it, and allow us to expand. A way to work out fear is to breathe it out of you. Understand that knowledge is stronger than memories. A lot of people are hell-bent on memories and refusing to accept knowledge, but understand that knowledge is much stronger than memories. And if you made mistakes in the past, don't dwell on them, learn from them. If you work hard on something that is rooted in your subconscious mind, you're definitely gonna yield result. You're definitely gonna yield results. Now, if you working hard on somebody else's dream, you might want to rethink that. Work on something you truly believe in. Be sure to check out the links. I didn't even add these links. I'm gonna add these links in a minute once I get off this live. How to read natal charts easily and effectively, manipulating the matrix. We got those books to kind of help you deal with everything that I talked about within this actual talk, mainly because you need to understand it in your words. You need to understand it. You need to understand manifesting based upon your intentions, based upon your practice, based upon your subconscious mind, based upon your releasing process, understanding everything about this process. You understand? I just wanted to kind of go through that, and hopefully that made sense, and hopefully, you can take something from it, and hopefully you can understand that, this is not a game. This ain't nothing really to play with. I appreciate everybody blowing the chat up, and I'm gonna read every single chat, and you can always chat with me in real life, hoodmystic@gmail.com. Be sure to check out the links in the description, columbianexchange.com, altercreations.net. My wife be down here with a real live drill. Like, she be down here drilling, like, all the time. You know what I'm saying? She be super mom, then Bob.